In a world without features and version control, if one member of a team wanted to change a component in the database, say by changing the name of a content type like we did before, and then another team member wanted to change another property of that, say by changing the description of the content type, then syncing up those two changes between our two development sites would be a challenge. We'd have to find some way to communicate about those changes, either by creating an ongoing list or sending out email blasts every time we make a configuration change. And then to implement those changes, we would need to manually add them into our development site. And then, to push to production, we would need to merge all of our lists of all the configuration changes that were made since the last release and manually do those on production. So all of that is time-consuming and error-prone, and like we've talked about before, Features is intended to help solve this problem. So let's go ahead and go through that scenario where one team member makes a change to configuration of a component, another team member makes a change to the same component, and then we merge those changes. And with Features and version control, this is actually a pretty straightforward, simple task. And while we'll be doing just one modification, this could easily be 50 or 100 modifications, and it would work the same exact way. So here's a quick overview of what we're about to do. First of all, on our development site, we're going to begin by making a modification to our feature, just modifying one component. And then, in order to get that change into version control, we're going to recreate the feature. And then, we're going to take those changes and commit them, and then push them to the remote repository. So this will mean that now our change is in code, it's in version control, and it's on the remote repository to share with other sites. Next, we're going to switch over to Gary, who's going to make a different modification to the same component. He's going to do the same thing that we did by recreating the feature, then committing the changes, and pushing it. When he tries to push it, he's going to run into a problem because the remote repository is going to have our version of the code, so he's going to pull down the latest version. But because of a quirk in how certain components export the first time you modify them in the Drupal interface, we'll have a conflict that we need to resolve. And then once that conflict is resolved, we'll go ahead and push it, and then we'll switch over to our development site and pull to completely sync up our two changes.